here at your service, my friends. How are we doing today? Woo! It's a wonderful day, my friends. Yes, it is. It's a wonderful day because it's a day of math. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's bring on down the screen. Woo! Look at our feature animal of the week. I'm just kidding. It looks like a newt, doesn't it? Woo! What's up, buddy? Yeah. Although, weren't you supposed to blink when I plucked your face? There you go. Blink. Fade. Yes, how exciting. Okay, man, he has some big eyeballs. They're kind of freaking me out. Okay, let's go ahead and get started here. We have a little place value chart. That's what I guess I would call that. It's a little template. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to investigate. Well, first, you know what? Before we do that, Mr. Wara, let's go ahead and look at our objective. This is like our learning target. What are we trying to do here? We are trying to round a given decimal to any place using place value understanding, okay, and the vertical number line. And we are going to look at the vertical number line as we've looked at the horizontal number line probably through most of the math lessons you received. This is a little different, but it's kind of cool. All right, we get a pen here. Okie dokie, let's do some decomposing here of 155. Now, if we were to write this in unit form, you can see here I need to have a decimal place right here, right? Because all our whole numbers, as we say, whole numbers are to the left of that decimal place, right? And then we have all our decimals, and they're like fractions, they're parts of wholes, are all going this way, basically. My arrows need some serious help. Okay, so that's basically what we have here. So I'm just going to put in some decimal points. So if I were to write 155 in unit form, I have my 100, I have my 5 tens, and I have my 5 ones. Seems pretty simple, I would have to say. But now if we were to rename, we could rename this number using the greatest number of tens. Okay. So how would I do that? I have 5 tens, but I said the greatest number of tens. Well, you may recall back in, I don't know, first or second grade, when you were just a little tyke, you probably thought to yourself, my goodness, 100 is a lot. But in 100, we have 10 tens. So what we could do by renaming that is we could say, I'm going to take those 10 tens that make that 100. I'm going to add that 5 tens I already have. Now I have 15 tens, and of course I have 5 ones. Okay, did I lose you? I know you're saying, but Mr. Wara, you're breaking the rule. You're never supposed to put a digit larger than 9 in each place value. And that's true when we're writing numbers in standard form, of course. But what we're doing is we're going to be kind of exploring here a little bit to see how we can rename certain place value. In this case, we're renaming the hundreds as tens. Now, we have this written. We can see that it shows 15 tens. It kind of helps us see a little bit better that 155 is between 15 tens and 16 tens on the number line. So let's pull our number line up. And you know what, Mr. Newt guy, I don't know, don't really want to make you disappear. Can we shrink you down to size? Yeah, let's do that. I like that little shrinking method. Whoa, sorry, I kind of stretched it out there. Man, sorry, buddy. There, does that look a little bit better? There we go. We're just going to put you right there. All right. Mr. Wara, why are you talking to a newt? I have absolutely no idea. Please. Don't spread the word. Okay, so here we have a vertical number line. Look at that. That is one gorgeous looking vertical number line. And you wonder, why do I have 3 lines here? Well, we are looking at rounding. I'm thinking maybe we could put right up here. Oh, let's put it right in the middle here. Let's put our 15 tens, and we're going to be 15 tens, and plus we have our 5 ones, plus, and I'm going to put that down here, 5 ones, and of course that equals 155. If we were to look at rounding, we could see that 16 tens is up here. If we went up to the next 10, down here we have 15 tens, and this I write so that you can kind of see. And of course here this is going to equal 150. This might help you to see this too. This is 160. Notice we have 155, which is right in the middle. Now looking at this, which decomposition of 155 is going to help you round this number to the nearest 10? Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking that here, uh, the one that shows 15 tens here, it helps me see that 155 is between 15 tens and 16 tens. And when we use a vertical number line, we kind of almost think going up that numbers increase, much like a thermometer. The numbers are going to increase as they go up. So we have 16 tens, or in this case, 160. So now we record this on the number line, and we can see that 16 tens, as you may have realized, is how we round that number up. Because when we have a number that's exactly at the midway point, like 15 tens was 150 plus the 5 one was 155, that puts us right in the middle of 16 tens and 15 tens. But this lets me know that when we have that 5 right down in the midway point, that we round up. So 160. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our same number, but uh, rounding to the nearest hundred. Well, you can see here the representation is that we have two hundreds and we have 100, because 155 is between 200 and between 100. So I've listed here their line right here. This would be 150, right in the middle of 200 and 100. Well, our number is 155, so it's like right here. So 155 is just above 150, so it's just past the midway point. So therefore, 155 is closer to 200s. So we would round that number to 200s. You like that vertical line? I think I'm kind of liking it now. Let's look at another problem. So let's decompose. And decompose means to kind of like take apart. It's what our wonderful decomposers do out there in that environment, earthworms and many other. So let's go ahead and decompose, take apart this number 1 and 57 hundredths. We're going to round this to the nearest whole and nearest tenth. Okay, so let's go ahead and say, well, we're going to first name this in unit form. And you can see we still have our place value chart. It's a bit different, but here's my ones and my tens. And that's always important to see the whole part, which is any, right, digit above. And this is my decimal part, any number that's less than one whole. This becomes that little dividing line. Very crucial in math to see that any number to the left of that decimal point is a whole. Well, with our number 1 and 57 hundredths, you can see we do have one whole. We have 1, and I'm just going to put another decimal here, 5 tenths and 7 hundredths. So I've written this down as unit form. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to rename this into simply tenths. So how many tenths would I have if I were to rename 1 and 57 hundredths? By renaming it means I'm going to make as many tenths as possible. Well, one whole, when you think about it, is 10 tenths, right? Because we learned 10 over 10 is just simply one whole. So therefore, I actually have 10 tenths here that I could add on to my 5 tenths, giving me 15 tenths. And I still have my 7 hundredths there, not going anywhere. Now I've renamed that number as tenths, okay? So now I could go ahead and get my vertical number line here. Let's get him out. So let's take our number then. Our unit number in unit form was 1 and 57 hundredths. But since we are renaming it as tenths, we're going to determine, we're going to round. Are we closer to the 15 tenths or 16 tenths? Well, we go right up here, 16 tenths. So 16 tenths is equal to 1 and 6 tenths. Okay, so down here, let's write 15 tenths. So we have 15 tenths, which is going to equal 1.5, 1.50. You see how we've done that? We have 15 tenths and 7 hundredths here. What I effectively have done is I've put 16 tenths up here, 15 tenths. Well, that means this halfway point, this midpoint, would have to be 15 tenths, all right, plus, because we already have that here, plus 5 hundredths, which that's going to equal 1 and 55 hundredths. You see how that's right in the middle. However, our number is 15 tenths and 7 hundredths. That's going to put us just a little bit above that. Okay, so by showing this on the vertical number line, we can see that that number would be rounded to 16 tenths because the 1 and 57 hundredths goes just beyond the midway point. And a perfect example of what we're doing with renaming these units is much like the metric system when you think about it. When we convert quantities like between meters and centimeters, if we had 1.57, 1 and 57 hundredths, but 1.57 meters, well, this is much like what we're doing by renaming this unit. We say that that's 157 centimeters because we know that there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Therefore, we're just converting, much like what we're doing here. We renamed these units, meters and centimeters. The beauty of the metric system, of course, I know Mr. War says this all the time, but is that it's so simple because it's with the power of 10 and it's based on our base 10 model in math that we simply multiply or divide by powers of 10, and that makes it all mental math. We don't have to do any calculating like we do in the English system, having to convert all the time, knowing how many inches are in 1 foot and so forth. Okay, let's go on to another example. Let's decompose 4.381. Now again, we're going to go ahead. We're going to round this one so we can see a lot of different examples. We're going to round this to the nearest 10, to the nearest 1, to the nearest tenth, and nearest hundredth. Okay, because we do have a lot of decimal place values here. Well, first thing that we did, if you recall the last time, was we just simply put it in unit form. Well, I want to get my decimal in right away because I know that decimal, right? It it lies right here between the whole and the fraction. The decimal fractions is actually referred to sometimes. So here I have no tens, so I'm just going to put 0. I have 4 ones. As you can see, I have 3 tenths. I also have 8 hundredths. And I have one solo thousandths sitting here. So now I've written this in unit form. So first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to rename these because I want to round this to the nearest, well, let's do the nearest tenths. Here we can go ahead and show that, well, if there's 10 tenths in one whole, then there would be 40 tenths in 4 wholes or 4 ones, which means the same. So if I add that 3 tenths onto my 40, now I have 43 tenths, I have 8 hundredths, and I have my 1,000 still there. How many hundredths are there in one whole? Well, there's 100. So if I have 100 hundredths in one whole, I'd have 400. I'm going to have 400, but I also have 3 tenths. And then the question is, how many hundredths are there in 1/10? Well, there's just simply 10 hundredths in 1/10. So if I take my 10 times 3, I end up with 30. So I get my 30 plus I already have 8 hundredths. Remember, every place value, it's a difference of like a power of 10, whether you're multiplying by 10 or dividing by 10. So like we said, there were 10 tenths in one whole. Then there's 10 hundredths in 1/10, just as there are 10 thousandths in 100th. It's all about 10, 10, 10, 10 in the way that we group our numbers. Now we can also put this into thousandths as well. Again, there's 1,000, right? Thousandths in one whole. So that gives us our 4,000. I'm just going to come down here, even though I don't have a box for it. Okay, and again, you can see the pattern. Well, how many thousandths are there in 1/10? Well, we have 2 place values here. So that would mean there would be 100. See, there's 10 thousandths in 100th, right? So that would mean there would have to be 100 thousandths in 1/10. So that's why I'm going to put my 300 here. So I have 4 thousandths, right, in the 4 holes over there. Now I have my 300 thousandths that are in that 3/10, so it's going to be 3. And then finally I have how many thousandths in 100th? I have 10. And I have 8 of those, so that's like 80. And I'm sure you guys are seeing the pattern, right? You're going, Mr. War, all you're doing is just putting the digits and writing them all the way across, and that's exactly what we're doing. Well, let's go ahead and see about rounding this number. So if I'm looking at 4 and 381 thousandths, and I'm wanting to round to the nearest, let's round that to the nearest 10. Okay, well then that would mean it's either going to be 110, which is up here, okay, because 110 is equal to 10. And I'm writing it in word form along with the numerical form because I want to make sure that you guys keep seeing that. So here we have 0 tens, which is simply 0. So we have a number between, right, 1 and 10 because we're rounding to the nearest 10. Well, right here in the middle, I think you guys would agree this would be 5 ones. 5 ones would be right in the middle, which is 5. Well, when you look at our number here, we have it has to be below, right? Because 4 is less than 5. So 4 and 381,000 falls a little bit below. So if we were to round this to the nearest 10, in this case, it's going to be 0 tens, right? And that's usually not the best way to round a number such as this because it doesn't give us really good data. If we're trying to round and get a good amount of a certain quantity, rounding a number like this, we'd be better off doing it to the closest whole number, which is what we're going to do now. So now you've seen this, I'm going to keep using the same vertical line, so I need to do some erasing here. So what we want to determine is this number going to be closer to 4, or is it going to be closer to 5? Closer to 4 or 5 because we have 4 here. Well, here would be the 4 ones, right, which is just 4. And then up here, we would have 5. And then our midway point then would have to be, right? Right, it's going to be 4 ones plus 5 tenths, which of course is the same as just saying 4.5. So now we take our number 4.3, you can see we're going to be down here because this 4.2 and a half is right here. So 4.3 might be somewhere in here, 4.381. So you can see that our number, our value of 4 and 381 thousandths is less than that midway point. So we would actually round down to 4 ones. And we could do the same thing for tenths. So I'm going to erase this and do tenths. So now if we do tenths, it's the same thing here. We have our number here. So we're trying to round to this place value. Okay, so we have 43. So question is do we have 43 tenths? So is this going to be closer to 43 tenths, which of course is equal to, right, we know 4.3, or is this going to be closer to 44 tenths up here, which of course is equal to 4.4. We just renamed them. So the midway point is going to have to be what? 43 tenths, right? But plus, we're going to have that 5 hundredths, okay, which is 4 and 3 tenths, and then we have our 5 hundredths right in the middle. Well, our number happens to be 4.38. So that's going to put us just up here, 4.381. Therefore, we're rounding up. And in this case, we're going to have 44 tenths. And again, we can do this with every kind of number. Let's do one more. Ooh, I know. Yes. Okay, so let's do one more so we can see these all together. And I have all these vertical number lines ready to go. So if we had the number, and again, I need my little decimal point there, right between the ones and the tens, indicating whole from part. And let's put this number in unit form. Let's do 9 and 975 thousandths. We always read the number with that very last place value. We have 9 and 975 thousandths. Let's go ahead and rename that as tenths. Well, if we rename it as tenths, we know that that's 9 tenths, right? I'm sorry, not 9 tenths, that's 9 wholes. There are tenths or 10 tenths in every whole, so 10 times 9, 90. Okay, I guess the coffee has not kicked in yet. Okay, so we have 99 then because we're going to add that 9 on. 99 tenths, and of course we have 700s and 5,000s. And we're renaming this again as hundreds. You know the pattern now, right? It's just like we're bringing this over, right? And then just putting the 7. That's it. Why? How did I know how to do that? Well, I know that there's 10 hundredths and 1/10. So really all I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, well, if there's 10 hundredths in 1/10, what's 100 times 99? 990. And then I'm just putting the 700s I already had. And that's all we're doing. And the same thing here. You can take your thousands, say there's 10 thousandths in 100, but in tenths, it's more, it's 100. So now you're talking about 100 times that number? Yeah, 9,900. But you also have 700s here, and you have 5,000s here. All right, so let's go ahead and look at what that would look like on here. If we were going to round this to the nearest ones, let's do the nearest ones here first. We would look at 10 ones, right, would be the most. That would just be 10. And of course, 9 ones, because we have a number that's in between 9 and 10. And we're determining how that would be. So right in the middle, we would say is 9.5. Right? 9.5, 9 ones, and 5 tenths. And our number is 9. If we're actually looking at to the nearest ones, you can see that our number is 9 and 9 tenths. So it's way up here. It's like 9 point, and then we hit the rest of it, 9.75. So in this to the nearest ones, it's going to meet the quantity of 10. It's going to get rounded up. Now, if we come over here and we look at, let's do tens. Tens, we would have 1 10 over here. And then down here, we're going to have 0 tens. And then, of course, 5 tens would be right in the middle. Again, our number is, well, it's more than, okay, because you see our number here, we have 9 ones. So 9 ones, we want to see, like, is it going to be 110? Do we have enough here to make 110? Or is it just going to be 0 tens? Well, you can see that we have a number of 9 and 975 thousandths. So this is really close to 110. So we would round up. Okay. And now we have tenths. Let's do our next column. So here, our tenths, we have 99. So we're looking at this. Is it going to be 99 tenths? Okay. Which is the same as 9.9. Or is it going to be 100 tenths? And again, that's going to be equal to just 10, the whole number, when you think about 100 tenths. So here we're going to have 99 tenths, but really that's just 9 and 9.5. If we look at 10, here we have 9, 9.9, 9.95, 10. Our number happens to be right around here. So if we were to do this as hundredths, what would that look like? Well, we look at hundreds here, we have 997. So let's go ahead and put that down, 997 hundredths. And then over here, we have 998 hundredths. That means here we would have 9, and if you think about it, 997.5, I'm sorry, 909, well, yeah, based on hundreds. So it's like right in the middle because of 997, 998. Well, you know our number is 9.975. It's the same. Right in the middle is exactly the same. Therefore, we would round up because 5 or more, we up the score, right? 0, 4, we let it rest. These little things that help us. But when we say it's right at the midpoint, we say we round up. Okay, my friends. Woo-wee. What a lesson. I know what you're thinking. Mr. Warner, I think my brain is on overload. Well, you know what? I am so glad you joined us in this wonderful math video. I look forward to having you participate in yet future videos. Now, live long and prosper.